Lily's Exorcism, Part 1. In the sleepy town of Crestwood, nestled in the heart of New England, an unspeakable darkness began to unravel in the most unlikely of places, a quaint suburban home where a family of 4 lived seemingly peaceful lives. Among them was a sweet, innocent little girl named Lily. With her golden curls and sparkling blue eyes, Lily was the picture of childhood innocence. She laughed, played with her dolls, and reveled in the joy of youth. But beneath her angelic facade, a malevolent force was stirring, one that would plunge Crestwood into a nightmarish descent. It started with the nightmares, horrifying dreams that plagued Lily's sleep, leaving her in a cold sweat each night. Her parents, Sarah and Mark, chalked it up to the overactive imagination of a child. But as the days passed, they noticed subtle changes in their daughter. Lily's once bright eyes grew hollow, and her laughter became a haunting echo of the past. She began to speak in a guttural, otherworldly voice that sent shivers down her parents' spines. The innocence that had defined her was slowly slipping away, replaced by an eerie, knowing presence. Terrified and desperate to save their daughter, Sarah and Mark turned to the local clergy for help. Father Thomas, a seasoned exorcist with a reputation for battling the supernatural, arrived at their doorstep. He had seen evil in its purest form, and he was prepared to confront it. The exorcism took place in Lily's dimly lit bedroom, where the air was heavy with foreboding. Father Thomas, clutching his crucifix, began the ritual, reciting ancient prayers to banish the demon that had taken hold of the child. As he chanted, the room seemed to darken, the shadows stretching and contorting as if they had a life of their own. Lily's voice, now distorted and inhuman, filled the room, hurling obscenities and curses at the priest. Her body convulsed, twisting in ways that defied the laws of nature. The battle between the exorcist and the malevolent force intensified, shaking the very foundation of the house. Objects levitated and the walls seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. It was a battle of wills, a clash between the divine and the diabolical. But as the exorcism reached its climax, it became clear that something had gone terribly wrong. The demon, rather than retreating, seemed to grow stronger, its grip on Lily tightening. Father Thomas, his faith faltering, realized that this was no ordinary evil he was facing. With a final, desperate prayer, Father Thomas attempted to expel the demon once and for all. But in that moment, the room was engulfed in a blinding, searing light, and a deafening roar echoed through the house. The sheer force of the supernatural battle unleashed a cataclysmic explosion, tearing through the walls and shattering windows. When the dust settled, the house lay in ruins, its walls scarred with ancient symbols and unholy markings. Lily's lifeless body lay at the center of the devastation, her innocent face forever marred by the darkness that had consumed her. Sarah and Mark, their hearts shattered, grieved for the daughter they had lost. Crestwood, too, would never be the same, forever marked by the nightmarish events that had unfolded within its borders. As for Father Thomas, he'd left Crestwood a broken man, haunted by the knowledge that he had failed to save a young soul from the clutches of an unimaginable evil. The demon that had possessed Lily had proven to be a force beyond his comprehension, a malevolent entity that defied all attempts at exorcism. In the aftermath of that fateful night, Crestwood would bear the scars of the darkness that had descended upon it, a chilling reminder that evil could lurk in the most unexpected places, waiting to consume the innocent and the unsuspecting. The memory of Lily, the little girl who had been possessed by a demon, would forever haunt the town, a testament to the fragility of the human spirit in the face of unspeakable horror. Lily's Exorcism, Part 2. In the aftermath of the devastating exorcism that had claimed Lily's life, Crestwood lay shrouded in an eerie silence. Sarah and Mark, their world shattered, retreated into a profound grief from which there seemed to be no escape. They couldn't bear to remain in the house, now a haunting relic of the horrors they had endured. Sarah, unaware of the insidious twist that had taken place during the exorcism, found solace in the hope of a new beginning. She discovered she was pregnant once more, and a fragile light of optimism pierced through the darkness that had enveloped her life. As the months passed and Sarah's belly swelled with the promise of new life, she clung to the belief that this child would bring healing and redemption. Little did she know that the malevolent force that had plagued their family had not been vanquished, but had merely shifted its target. Unbeknownst to Sarah, the demon that had once possessed Lily had been expelled from her daughter's lifeless body during the cataclysmic exorcism, but rather than dissipating into the ether, it had sought refuge in the only vessel available, the unborn child within Sarah's womb. As the pregnancy progressed, Sarah began to experience inexplicable nightmares and unsettling sensations. She could feel the presence of the demon lurking within her, its malevolence seeping into her very soul. The once celebrated hope of new life became a haunting reminder of the darkness that had taken hold. Sarah's condition deteriorated rapidly. She withdrew from the world, plagued by disturbing visions and a deep sense of dread. Mark too noticed the change in his wife, but he couldn't fathom the true nature of the evil that had infiltrated their lives. It was only when Sarah's behavior grew increasingly erratic and violent that Mark realized the horrifying truth. The demon once bound to their daughter had now possessed their unborn child. The malevolent force that had torn their family apart was now threatening to destroy them once more. Desperate to save his wife and unborn child, Mark sought out a renowned paranormal investigator, Dr. Evelyn Harlow, who had experience with supernatural entities. Dr. Harlow arrived in Crestwood, her presence a beacon of hope in the midst of despair. Together, Mark and Dr. Harlow embarked on a perilous journey to confront the demon once and for all. They researched ancient texts, consulted with experts in the field, and prepared for a final, harrowing showdown. The day of the confrontation arrived, a grim battle that would determine the fate of Sarah, their unborn child, and perhaps the entire town of Crestwood. As the exorcism began, Sarah's body contorted and writhed, her voice distorted by the demonic presence within her. But this time, the demon was different, more powerful and cunning than before. It resisted with a ferocity that defied explanation, hurling threats and curses at those who dared to challenge it. The battle raged on, the very foundations of the house quaking under the supernatural forces at play. In a moment of divine intervention, Dr. Harlow discovered a long-forgotten ritual, an ancient incantation capable of binding even the most malevolent of entities. With unwavering determination, she recited the incantation, and a blinding light filled the room, expelling the demon from Sarah's womb. As the demon was banished, its otherworldly screams echoed through the house, a haunting testament to the darkness that had threatened to consume them all. Sarah collapsed, her body battered and drained, but free from the malevolent force that had tormented her. The ordeal had left its mark on the family, scars that would never fully heal. Crestwood, too, would forever bear the scars of the darkness that had descended upon it. The memory of Lily, the little girl possessed by a demon, and the unborn child who had narrowly escaped a similar fate, would forever haunt the town, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unspeakable horror. Babar's torment. In the heart of the small, weather-beaten town of Harrowfield, nestled deep within the eerie embrace of ancient woods, young Father Simon Collins prepared to face the darkness. At 28, he was a newcomer to the priesthood, drawn to the calling by faith and a desire to serve a higher purpose. Little did he know that the path he had chosen would lead him into a nightmare beyond his imagining. The summons came from Bishop Thornton, a man of stern demeanor whose eyes bore the weight of countless horrors he had witnessed over the years. Simon's heart pounded as he listened to the bishop's grim instructions. "You have been chosen to assist in your first exorcism," Bishop Thornton said in a tone that brooked no argument. "Prepare yourself, Father Collins. This will be no ordinary battle." The exorcism was to take place in the forsaken ruins of St. Agatha's Asylum, a place tainted by unspeakable horrors. Simon, guided by Bishop Thornton, descended into the crumbling abyss of the asylum, the oppressive atmosphere settling over them like a shroud. The possessed was a man named Benjamin, his eyes devoid of humanity and his voice a chilling, guttural growl. As Bishop Thornton began the ancient rites of exorcism, Benjamin's body contorted and writhed, his screams resonating through the decaying walls of the asylum. Shadows seemed to twist and writhe around them, and an unnatural cold settled in the air. Simon watched in awe and terror as the battle between light and darkness unfolded before him. The bishop's voice, unwavering in its faith, filled the chamber as he confronted the malevolent entity that had taken root within Benjamin. Hours passed, and Simon felt the weight of the malevolence pressing upon him. It was as if the very walls of the asylum had become a prison of darkness, and he was trapped within its suffocating grip. As dawn broke, Benjamin's eyes regained their clarity, his voice returning to its natural timbre. The demon had been vanquished, and the young man had been saved from the abyss. The relief that washed over Simon was palpable, and he fell to his knees in prayer, grateful for the divine intervention that had taken place. He had witnessed the triumph of light over darkness, and it filled him with a sense of purpose. But Bishop Thornton's gaze remained heavy with knowledge, and he leaned in close to Simon, his voice a low, ominous whisper. "That was not just any demon, Father Collins," the bishop said, his words a grim revelation. "That was Babar, the most powerful of ancient demons, a force that has haunted humanity for centuries." The name sent shivers down Simon's spine, and he felt a weight in his soul that refused to lift. Babar was a name spoken only in hushed tones among the most experienced exorcists, a name that carried the weight of unspeakable malevolence. In the nights that followed, Simon's dreams were filled with visions of the demon. He would wake in a cold sweat, his heart racing as he felt the malevolent presence of Babar lurking just beyond the edges of his consciousness. As the weeks turned into months, Simon's faith was tested in ways he could never have imagined. He continued to serve the church, dedicating his life to confronting the forces of darkness, but the shadow of Babar lingered. The demon taunted him, appearing in his nightmares as grotesque visions that left him gasping for breath. It whispered promises of power and secrets that would shatter the foundations of reality. Simon's mental and physical health deteriorated as he struggled to escape the clutches of the demon. He sought counsel from his fellow priests, but they could offer no solace or answers. Babar's torment threatened to consume Simon's very soul. Desperate to escape the torment, Simon embarked on a perilous journey to confront the demon once more. He delved into forbidden texts, consulted with experts in the field, and searched for any means of breaking free from Babar's grasp. But the demon was cunning and elusive, a malevolent force that seemed to defy all attempts at exorcism. It continued to torment and taunt Simon. As the years passed, Simon's once youthful face became etched with the lines of suffering, and his eyes held the haunted look of a man who had glimpsed the abyss. He knew that the battle against Babar was one that he might never win. In the end, Simon's desperate struggle for freedom led him into the depths of the ancient woods that surrounded Harrowfield. He believed that there, he might find a way to banish the demon that had plagued him for so long. But the woods were a place of ancient malevolence, and they seemed to close in around him, their twisted trees and shadowy depths becoming a labyrinth from which there was no escape. As Simon's voice cried out in defiance, a haunting laughter echoed through the trees, a laughter that filled him with a profound sense of dread. Babar, the most powerful of ancient demons, had claimed him at last.